people stopping on the overpass to watch. And now the dog is secured. So next steps, they're going to try to exit the river or try to hold down here and wait until rescue air ops can get there and can hoist both of them up to safety. And we believe that this is just a random man who saw the dog on the river and took it into his own hands and hopped in and is doing his best to hold the ground and swim over to what could be an exit opportunity. And there we have it. They're going to throw out the rope, throw out the rescue ring. And here we have it, folks. A rescue underway in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles River, as the current pushes them a little bit further down. This is a 55-mile river and seems to be moving quicker now. So luckily, seasoned professionals are there on the scene. This, we believe, just a man who saw the dog in the river and is doing everything he can to help and to hold on as the dog is kind of squirming away. And that's originally what got this dog loose, as its owner has since been rescued from the river. And he kind of wiggled his way out of the custody of a firefighter who rescued his owner, and that's how he got stuck on the scene. And now that rope is in arm's width distance. And now next steps is going to be hoisting himself and the dog out, which is going to be a feat in itself. And here we have it as they are holding on for dear life here. And there we have it, folks, just resetting for you as we are witnessing some nerve-wracking moments for a dog in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles River, as a man, just a passerby, has jumped into the river and secured the dog and now is waiting for teams on what to do next. And so we also, to give you a little better understanding of the Los Angeles River here, which has taken us kind of on this journey. It's 55 miles long. We want to show you an aerial look at Google Maps of what they've had to deal with in this search. You can see how expansive it is and honestly how quick moving this rescue has been, because they've been floating for about 15 minutes now. For several minutes we've been staying on this scene, and many of these residents now have been on the scene. There's a rope that has been deployed and police officers there as well. So we're going to stay on this shot for you, live, raw, and unfiltered. That's what we do here on Live Now from Fox, a better view so you can have the full screen of this dog rescue out in Los Angeles at the Los Angeles River, a 55-mile river that takes you through western San Fernando Valley, flows through the central portion of the city south to San Pedro Bay near Long Beach. So this is a regional rescue that's underway in Los Angeles. It is about 3:10 out in Los Angeles. as they're in somewhat of a holding pattern here. The man just trying to hold on to the dog so he doesn't get away. Really quite a test of upper body strength. This is a Sepulveda Basin recreation area. So we're going to stay on this shot here, as once again, this is near the Sepulveda Dam. And the weather conditions just obviously not great for this area. We'll try to get you some of the wind gusts in Los Angeles, see how fast it is moving out there. And so as we back out a little bit, we can see the fire department with air ops there, and they're going to have a rescuer that's going to be hoisted down to try to grab both the man and the dog. Believe that this is the same rescuer who actually was able to hoist up the dog's owner previously, a woman. Interestingly, there's an off-leash dog park at the entrance to the recreation area where we believe this all started. And as you can imagine, this scene gaining the attention of many passerbys who are standing here helpless, just watching what's going on as this man who was just standing on the side jumped in to help the dog, and the dog now unfortunately freed and off again. Just devastating. This is about the second, I think the second time that the dog has wiggled its way free. As now they're going to have to rescue this man from the Los Angeles River, as well as the dog still. So this is a rescue that's been going on for about half an hour now, at least, which started out with a woman and the dog, and now another man getting involved, and his rescue is going to be top of mind as well for air ops that's still on the scene. All right, and now they're going to try to latch on here and be hoisted up to safety. It looks like they have successfully been able to do that. It's going to try to put him down and next try to find that dog, as this is now the second person who has been rescued and hoisted to safety in this dog rescue. For those of you who are tuning in right now, we have on the screen for you that this is a dog rescue. It is a dog rescue. That was a man who jumped in and tried to help the dog, and here's the dog here now that maybe some people are not seeing, who are a little bit further down on the river. as their focus has been on the man who's been hoisted up to safety, but this dog is really the one that they're all trying to go after. And only maybe a foot or two of water, thankfully, in the river right now, which has allowed the dog to stay above water and just kind of tread here and go with the current. So we're just going to stay on this shot. As many of you know, I know here in Arizona, the canals can be extremely dangerous, often deadly. But luckily, focus has remained on the dog here, and they know the location. They know where he's going. Firefighters still tracking him as he continues along the 55-mile Los Angeles River. And we showed you in a 2-box just how far the river expands, going through Sherman Oaks into Encino Village, into the Sepulveda Basin recreation area, which could have been where all of this started. And top of mind, the dog still in good condition, uninjured, and seemingly unfazed, but has squirmed its way out of rescuers' arms now, I think 2 times. So he's just looking for an exit here. He's just trying to figure out what's next. As a couple hundred feet away, we have air ops teams that are there and ready to hoist him to safety whenever he's ready to do that too. And eyewitnesses here on the scene that are just trying to figure out what's going on, keep their eyes locked on the dog. I would imagine they're not going to want anyone else to jump into the river, as that just happened with a man, and they ended up having to rescue him, take him off to safety. And a bit of an overpass here that's since been blocked off to traffic. Emergency crews on both sides of the river, and now air ops teams still there.
That's not looking good for the dog now. Well, it's in the middle, and it was spinning around for a second.
And so now the water getting a little bit deeper, unfortunately, it looks like, as it's been phasing in and out, some locations only maybe a foot. Now it's getting into deeper waters, and the current still moving somewhat quickly. So just to recap again for you, we appreciate all of you joining us here on Live Now from Fox. This is what we do. I mean, it's a step away from a lot of the coverage that we've had. This is breaking news in Los Angeles, as we are keeping our eyes on a dog rescue at the Los Angeles River, a 55-mile river. I'm not sure how long they've been going for, but this dog staying active, staying above water, staying diligent. As there's now since been 2 rescues because of the dog. The woman, the owner of the dog, and then a second man who jumped in behind to try to save them, but was unfortunately unsuccessful. We have the Los Angeles Fire Department that's there, now the Los Angeles Police Department as well, as this is near the Sepulveda Basin recreation area. And as always, viewer discretion is advised here as we are all rooting for this dog. I know many of you just tuning in here and can't take our eyes away from this because we are just hoping for the best. We're hoping for the safety of this dog. Luckily, 2 people have been hoisted to safety in this situation, which is great news considering this can be extremely dangerous. And low water is also helpful. Unfortunately, there's no exit opportunities for the river, which makes you wonder how they ultimately got down there, what led to them falling into the river or quite the drop too. So we're just going to keep it here for you on Live Now from Fox, as we are live, raw, and unfiltered. And we're going to stay on this shot until there is a rescue from air ops teams, as they've been utilizing ropes, they've been utilizing helicopters to do what they can to bring this dog to safety. We don't know the name, we don't know the gender of the dog, but I'm sure we're going to hear about this dog into the rest of the week here in Los Angeles. As we are all just hoping and wishing for the best. Not a small dog from what it looks like.
Also, what kind of dog is it?
And many of the eyewitnesses there on the side of the river looking down and trying to alert emergency crews as to the dog's location as it's still trucking along. And at a few points, even going the opposite direction of the current, trying to head over to a rope that was thrown down, but unsuccessful, unfortunately. So once again, you're watching Live Now from Fox as we are giving you continuous coverage on a dog trapped in the Los Angeles area. Let's listen in to Fox 11 Los Angeles coverage.
Portion of the Los Angeles River in the San Fernando Valley. The bottom line, this is runoff from the rain, the most significant rain we've received here in Southern California since last December in over 3 months. I'm calling it a mini March miracle because we desperately needed this precipitation and the mountain snow. We have flash flood watches up for portions of Southern California, mainly for the southern and eastern mountains and also Orange County until 1 a.m. We're not through this rain yet. Even though we did get a bit of a dry break, we are watching now more bands of rain, some of which could be moderate, even locally heavy over the next several hours into the overnight hours. And when precipitation falls, it runs off into the streets, into the gutters, the sewer system, and into the LA River. That is very dirty water. Whenever we get a significant rain event after not seeing much for several weeks, or in this case, a few months, all of what's accumulated on the roads, the oil, the dirt, the rooftops, any type of stuff that was just discarded, any trash that was discarded in the sewers and the gutters, that will run off into the river untreated and then right into the Long Beach and LA harbors and pollute our oceans. All of the waterways that make their way into the Pacific Ocean, those mouths of those tributaries that come off of the river and our water system here will essentially pollute it. All of that pollution will head into the bay, and that's why we say at least 72 hours do not swim or surf. Unfortunately, this pup has no other option but just to try to maintain that fast stream of water, again, coming through the San Fernando Valley. This is a portion of the LA River that parallels the 101 freeway, the Ventura Freeway on the south side of the 101, and then it will make its way past the 101 freeway around the zoo, around Griffith Park, and that's when it makes a bend or a turn to the right by the Golden State Freeway and runs adjacent to the 5 freeway to the 710, and then along the 710 right down towards Long Beach. A 48-mile stretch from where this river starts, and you can see there, Marla.
Oh, no.
Yep, it's moving. That dog is moving by the flow of the water, and it looks like it's gotten deeper here because it doesn't appear that the dog is making much traction with the surface of the river there. Look at all the onlookers there, people, and we saw that heroic gentleman jump into the water, and he meant well. Do not do that. That provides a more complex situation because now firefighters, those urban rescue teams, those swiftwater teams that train for this year-round have to jump into the water and try to save another individual's life. They already saved a woman who was connected with this dog earlier. That man tried to do something, a good deed. Please don't do that. It is unsafe for yourself, obviously, and it puts those rescuers at risk as well. We're going to do our best. The Los Angeles Fire Department, the Swiftwater team, highly trained Swiftwater team, one of the most highly trained in the world, are on this. They're going to do their best to save this dog here in the LA River, still in the San Fernando Valley, close to the Hollywood split. That's where the 101 and the 134 freeways meet.
Okay. We are now joined by Margaret Stewart of the LAFD. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're monitoring the situation. What can you tell us about this poor dog that's trapped in the LA River right now?
Well, as your viewers have been watching, we've been trying to rescue this dog for a while. We received this initial call about 2:15 of a woman and a dog. We were able to rescue the woman. We've made multiple attempts to rescue the dog. However, it's a large dog that has been fighting and is able to run away from our rescuers, has bitten the rescuers multiple times. Unfortunately, we had exactly what we highly encourage and ask people to not do, and as a bystander climbed into the water, was able to get a hold of the dog, and then, as we would expect, was shortly later not able to hold the dog. The dog continued down. And so then we had to rescue the human who, as I understand right now, is being transported for probable dog bites. So he's lucky to be alive, honestly. He could have easily been swept down and drowned. And bystanders, they don't understand the power of the water. They aren't trained. They don't have the safety equipment. So we ask people, do not do that. We understand the desire to help. We are still tracking the dog. We have ground resources that have redeployed downstream to try to effect a ground rescue. And we still have air ops on scene. So we are working for the right opportunity to rescue the dog in as safe a manner as possible.
Yes, and I'm not sure if you have a look at our air right now, but we are, for viewers who might be a little confused, this is that rescue of that bystander who tried to help out the situation. But of course, Margaret Stewart with LAFD is saying she understands the will and the want to help, but it's never a good idea. Thank goodness that man was okay, and kudos to the rescuers who were able to bring him to safety. You mentioned that man was bitten by this dog who's obviously very fearful right now, very frightened. You also mentioned that some of LAFD rescuers were also bitten. Are they okay?
Yeah, so there's likely going to be treatment needed. I don't have details on the severity of the bites, but at a minimum they'll probably need to make sure their rabies is current. But that's a side note to the continued work they're doing. We haven't We haven't let up. We did have a helicopter that needed to refuel because it had been on station for almost an hour and a half at this point. So we still have a rescue effort underway for the dog. For those that may be concerned that we've just left it, that's not the case. Every rescue effort we make and the dog passes us, we then have to redeploy those resources further downstream. So we have them in multiple locations, but it's like a game of leapfrog. If you can't get the dog, then it's the next location, and then those rescuers have to move. But as you can see, this is a big dog. It's some kind of a shepherd mix, and if it's not willing to let us grab it, unfortunately, they're just not able to because it can fight and use its body to get away.
And I'm glad you made that point, because we are looking at the zoomed in, the close-up shot of the dog, and so you can't get a sense of the bigger picture. So you do have crews, and we've seen that happen, setting up a staging downstream to try and rescue. And again, there have been several attempts. The animal's frightened and has attacked the rescuers and had to let him go, or her go. Margaret, do you know anything about the dog's owner, who I know, wow, and the dog's now running upstream? Any word from the woman who was rescued, the dog's owner, and her condition?
She was brought out of the water uninjured, but potential, hypothermia. She had to be evaluated. I'm not sure. We have had a transport, but I believe it was for the adult male, the second rescue. I don't know that the female has been transported yet at this time.
Are you seeing our live picture right now? It looks like this doesn't look like an LAFD official. This looks like...
No, it is not. This is another bystander.
This is the other bystander.
This is no good.
Yeah, this is not...
Putting himself at risk.
Goodness.
He's going to fall in the water, and then we're going to have a third patient to rescue. This is exactly what we're begging people to please not do. Stay out of the water. Do not complicate the situation further.
Oh my goodness, you're saying...
They will not be able to rescue the dog. They will not be able to hold... you saw what happened when the first person tried. So fortunately, it looks like this person is climbing back over the fence. But they will not be able to hold on to the dog. They need to allow us to do what we are trained to do.
That water is very cold, even though it's not very deep. It is very dirty. We're talking about the water temperature likely in the upper 50s, and it is moving swiftly. We saw that gentleman, a rather large man who looked strong, really struggling with all of this. And it's just, again, we cannot stress enough, with any rain event, stay away from the streams, stay away from the LA River, all the tributaries into the Los Angeles River. Make sure your kids know that as well. People get too close. And as I mentioned, the Los Angeles Fire Department and other agencies, they really try to do their best to clear out any homeless encampments in and around the river prior to a significant rain event like we received today. That was the most rain that Los Angeles has received in about 3 months, since last December. And all of that is running off into our Los Angeles River, heading out of the San Fernando Valley, that 48-mile stretch from the west end of the valley all the way down into the Long Beach Harbor. And it's moving at a good clip, 5 knots or so, and it's moving downhill. Again, the San Fernando Valley, the average elevation is 800 feet. The elevation where this river meets the Long Beach Harbor area, the mouth, is sea level. So it's going downhill. That's why it's rushing at this rate through the San Fernando Valley. Right now, this is still the east-west portion of the LA River. So it's running from the west towards the east side of the valley. Then the river takes a bend around the 5. Here's another individual trying to be a hero, trying to save the dog. But that dog is big, as Margaret, you've said. It's heavy. It's not going to be able to be rescued by just a strap right there, someone pulling it up, and they're going to put themselves into danger just getting close to that water.
Yeah, spokesperson Margaret Stewart was with us from LAFD. We thank her for her time. She's no longer with us, though, Rick, but she did provide more perspective on the dog rescue that we're all watching live and now have a different look at, as now it's very deep waters, Rick, and the dog is swimming along here, and there's plenty of people, bystanders up above, trying to help. But again, that is not a good idea, because we've already seen that happen where a bystander fell in, and that was a very dramatic rescue.
And you can see water still running into the river. There's still runoff right there. And it is raining at this time. There's a cell right over this portion of the LA River. There's going to be more runoff. That means that water will get deeper. It will start moving quicker, and it will provide a more challenging time for this dog here.
Yeah, and looks like and thought to be a shepherd mix of some kind. Very big dog. It's already bit several people who have tried to rescue it. That's why it's not yet to safety.
Okay, so once again, we've been listening in to Fox 11 in Los Angeles, their coverage here of a dog rescue underway in the LA River. And we're getting some new details from the Los Angeles Fire Department. The dog, unfortunately, biting some of the rescuers or people that have been trying to rescue this dog that's now stranded in there and trying to keep up, dog paddling down this massive river here. I want to bring in our own expert here, Fire Captain Nathan Gunkel, on the line with us. Nathan, do you hear us?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
All right, so you work in California. You're out of Palm Springs, California. This is in the Los Angeles River. What's the difference? Because we hear there's two operations underway. There's a ground operation. There's also an aerial operation. Explain that to us. What's going through the minds of these teams here?
So you have crews on the ground that are trying to set up to do a rescue. The airship that's above is just going to be trying to locate the best area for the crews to get in, a safe area downstream where they can get something set up prior. So they're just giving them some eyes in the sky. They can see a lot more visibility than we can on the ground.
And so we've seen multiple people who have tried to help out with this, and we heard from the Los Angeles Fire Department. They say, don't do that. It makes it more difficult on the people who have a focus on the teams who are trying to rescue the dog. Now they've had to rescue two people because of them getting into the river and getting themselves stranded. Just kind of reiterate that for us.
Yeah, 100%. And that's exactly what we're looking at. As firefighters, we're willing to risk a lot to save a lot. So we're trying to set up we all have empathy for the animal. We want to make sure he can get home safe. We don't want to see the animal lose its life. But a person is going to take priority over the animal. So if people start jumping in, we're going to have to up our efforts to rescue the dog and put all the efforts towards the human that has fallen in. So they're delaying our rescue. They're delaying it, hampering us. They're putting us in this high risk too. This is a very dangerous type of rescue that we always have to do, these swift water rescues. So it puts all our firefighters at extreme danger.
Yeah, and just difficult because communication is going to look a little bit different than with a human, obviously. The dog has not been cooperative thus far. They've gotten their arms around him a couple of times and seems to be somewhat of a larger dog. But the dog biting and resisting them from being able to hoist him up. What do you do in those circumstances? I mean, what does it look like, even with humans that are kind of resisting your help?
Right. So that's going to happen every time, even with humans. They're scared, and they're going to do whatever they can to get their head above water, their body above water. So when we go out to them, they're going to try and push us down to get higher than us. And that's something we always worry about. But we're able to communicate with them above, the air as they're coming at us. We're able to talk to them. We're able to get a vest on them just in case they break loose. And we're able to communicate the best we can. Of course, there's going to be zero communication with the animal. So this puts us in even more danger. And then we have the dog he's scared. I'm sure he's a good dog, but he's scared for his life, and he's going to bite. He doesn't understand what's going on. So now we have firefighters that can go in there and get injured, basically get attacked by a dog, and this dog can, they just like they dog paddle, they're going to dog paddle right over the body. They're going to push us underwater. So we've got to do this the best we can, the safest way. We want to make sure our firefighters all go home at night. So this is very difficult. I have never been involved with this type of a swift water rescue with an animal yet. So I could just imagine everything they're planning and they're trying to do it the best they can here.
Yeah, and we're so impressed by these teams that have been keeping their eyes on this from above and on the ground, as we said. The first safety call came in around 2:15, so we're going on over an hour now. It's about 3:40 there in Los Angeles. from your experience, how long can someone go on this? He seems to be getting a little bit winded here, the dog, trying to resist the current, as he's been keeping up pretty well thus far, running along and kind of doggy paddling. But how long could this last? This is a massive river. It's 55 miles long.
Right. I think the thing that's really helping the canine at this time is just the shallow waters at times. He's able to, where he's still being pushed, but he's able to stand and kind of take a break and walk. So it looks like he, in deep water at times where he's swimming, but then he gets this break where he can just walk. So unknown. But you can see every time I can see right now live where he's trying to stop, and he's not going to be able to stop in this water pressure. And the rain's continuing. It's going to get deeper. It's going to get faster. It's going to get just more dangerous for both the canine and our rescuers. But we can still see people trying to do rescues here, and that's all I could recommend. 100%, please stay out of the water. I know we all have empathy for the canine, but we could lose a human life here very easy as well.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that, we're actually getting out a tweet from the fire department, from Los Angeles Fire Department. They tweeted and say they're strongly asking all bystanders to stay out of the LA River as we continue our efforts both from the ground and the air to rescue the dog. By going in the water, you are creating another human rescue, which puts all at risk, including yourself. Please stay out. Many of that in all capital letters. So they're serious about this, as there almost was another man who tried to hop over and help out the dog. People who are watching right now, Nathan, probably think that it would be easy to hop in there and, and push up against the current and grab the dog. That's not what it's like when you get in there, right?
No. As the water gets deeper, the force, the power of that water, people don't understand. Anything deeper than your knees will push you over and will throw you downstream. The force, the weight of all this water coming at you and the speed that it's going right now, you're not going to be able to fight it. And I know, like you were just saying, everyone wants to do the good thing, but they're delaying the rescue on the dog. Every single time we have to stop and help a person, they're delaying the rescue. So they're actually impeding us there. And you can see as this is going on here longer and longer, we're getting more and more people along the river. We're getting more and more vehicles there. That's blocking our fire engines, our emergency personnel from getting to the scene, our egress, getting in and getting out. They're really making it a lot more difficult. I know they're trying to help, but they're doing the exact opposite right now.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Please stay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just please stay out of the area. Do not, because these people, there's not parking along this river. So people are just parking wherever they can, and they're blocking roadways, they're blocking stuff. So our fire engines need a lot of room to get in there. And it's not going to be one fire engine. It's going to be multiple units, multiple personnel to set up to do this.
And it seems like there's pretty good communication right now. So we're learning that they have now deployed ground resources down the river, as the helicopter is, of course, tracking where the dog is going to end up going. And it looks like this is actually going to converge into some ground if he goes the other way, like maybe the end of the river here.
Right, yeah, it looks like it kind of Siameses together, like there's two different, there's a larger river and then the small channel. They're going to kind of meet up here. That's going to cause some extra current when they hit some different stuff there. And remember, we're going to have two operations going on even on the ground. You're going to have the rescue ground operation to get the canine, and you're going to have a rescue team downstream in case something happens to those initial rescuers. If they break loose or come off the rope or get bit by this dog and get injured and start floating down to rescue them. So there's going to be two separate operations.
You mentioned something earlier, which I wanted to bring up again, using life vests, but we haven't seen air ops with life vests for the people or for the dog either. So is there a reason that they would be doing that? Maybe it's just because they were hoping to hoist the dog up and wouldn't have to utilize a life vest. Could they utilize a life vest on a dog too?
Yeah, they do have them. Unknown if this team that's currently on the ground does. But, it's something you kind of do prior to going in the water with your canine. People put a vest on if there's a river or, some type of waterways. But to try and put a vest on a drowning dog when he's scared for his life underwater can be very difficult. Something they already may have thought of, like swimming up to them when they do get them, just have a muzzle on hand. And it may be something they've already thinking, okay, let's just get a muzzle on them, and then we can just strap those vests around them. So they're going to have to improvise. They're going to have to adapt. This isn't the normal daily swiftwater rescue. That's already got so many dangers attached to it. This has a lot more attached.
Yeah, a lot of things attached and a lot of people who are now gathering to watch what's going on. We have, again, Fire Captain Nathan Gunkel on the line. Nathan, I'm going to keep you on here as we are on the edge of our seat trying to see what happens next. The dog, unfortunately, walking upstream now, which is quite the opposite of what I'm sure emergency crews were hoping for. I want to recap for everyone, though, what's been going on here. We had Los Angeles Fire Department, their air ops, tracked the dog and made multiple rescue attempts within the last hour here. That call coming in around 2:15, so about an hour and a half ago. The dog was able to run downstream away from the rescuer and continue to fight. Ground resources were redeployed downriver as the helicopter tracked the dog for a little bit more of an effective rescue opportunity. During this time, we had one bystander who entered the water. He was able to grab that dog, and then they were swept a little bit further downstream. He was able to grab a hold of a rope that was sent over the side from bystanders. The LAPD also there at the time. The fire department now having to rescue that man. He was taken to the hospital with dog bites, which we heard that the original owner of the dog, a woman who was also rescued during this, unfortunately getting some dog bites, as well as some of the other rescuers who were able to grasp onto the dog. So he's scared right now. He doesn't know what to do. He's walking upstream. He's walking downstream. And now, as we pointed out earlier, it seems like the river is somewhat converging to a ground level, which would be a fantastic opportunity for emergency crews. Right, Nathan?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and so we still just have Skyfox overhead, eyewitnesses there on the scene as we are keeping our eyes on this. And viewer discretion always advised. We have emergency crews that are at the Los Angeles River, which is a massive river, 55 miles long. So what are the next steps? Nathan, do we still have you?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so next step right here, this looks like the whole game plan is changing. Like I said, there's two rivers that turned into one. We call it Siamese. So two into one. The river is a lot wider where it connects with these two going together. So the water level has gone down tremendously. So he's able to walk now. And currently, but like I said, with the water still coming down, at any point you can have a huge surge and it's all going to change again. So this throws more idea here where he's going to float into the firefighters and go towards them, go towards their ropes. And now we're possibly going to have to go upstream to him, but he's going to be scared. And you can see people on the side of the road, you know, clapping, trying to call him over. He's looking at him, but he's running. So this is, this is interesting.
And Nathan, we now have that second shot up of the rescuers who are standing there and they are just waiting for the dog to come downstream a little bit further. What are they thinking? How are they kind of strategizing right now? Do they all go out? Does one go out and the others stay behind? What's that going to look like, you think?
Yeah, they're going to get a plan that fits. They're going to have several people on the team, though. At no point we're going to put anyone out by themselves. They have a plan. Like I said, they have the backup. So you can see him trying to go upstream now, and the water is once again increasing. He's just going to get exhausted and start floating back down, just like he just did here. There's other options here. There's ropes they can hang off the bridge and try and, lasso him, for a better word. You know what I mean? You want to do it careful without harming the dog. But like I said, whatever we can do to get this dog out of the water safely is the best bet. Eventually, you're correct. He's going to get tired. I mean, he can only keep doing this for so long. So he'll get exhausted enough where we will be able to just walk up to him and get him. But we're worried about this river, the water conditions changing, and it changes rapidly. It can go just from this nice and calm like you see to just a huge surge of water coming.
Yeah, you're right. And we have seen the water kind of pick up at certain points. We've seen it much deeper than at other points. We were worried at certain points when it was really deep and he was barely staying and treading above water. We heard that there was a bit of a rain yesterday, more rain than what California has gotten in quite a while, which caused for higher water levels. And that's always a concern for rescue efforts, too, when there's conditions like that and colder water, I would imagine, too.
Yes. Yeah, so and this is all concrete here, but so the water's not really absorbing in. But when you get these floods, like we're used to out here, it flashes. And you can see, like I was just saying with the last, I was like, hopefully I'm not listening, but that's bystanders are kind of trying to do that this time. The best option at this time, but unfortunately it's non-existent, because they have the owner there off the side with the fire department to be able to call her over. But like you said, they were transported to the hospital, I believe I heard you say.
Yeah, the woman has been transported to the hospital, the owner of the dog, and then also that bystander who hopped into the river and had to be rescued too, also taken to the hospital.
But I'm sure they've considered that, to get that owner, out with them. I mean, that may even be an idea here in the future. If it stays nice and flat where it's at right here, the dog's able to run around, to have the owner on scene and call him over is probably going to be the only person that this canine is going to trust with its life at this time.
That's right. And so for everyone who may just be joining in right now, we have Fire Captain Nathan Gunkel on the line from Palm Springs, California. So very familiar with the Los Angeles area, Nathan. How common is it for people to get stuck in rivers like this? I don't know how much work you've done out in LA or heard from maybe LAFD about this, but it doesn't seem to happen too often. I know that here in Arizona, people falling into canals is a real problem, and it's quite fatal.
Yeah, and luckily it's a low frequency, but it's a very, very high risk. So this is something that us at fire departments train a lot on, because when you get these low frequency incidents like this with extremely high risk of injury or if it's death to us, we're going to train on it, because we don't run a lot of them. So we're going to train extra hard. We're going to do it all the time, every year. And we see this year after year with people, especially in the LA. More people, we're going to have more incidents. This is something we run in our valley every year, unfortunately. And it's a little different, with the people here, and it's just a whole other game plan with an animal. And I can be honest, I'll bring this back to the RC at this time, but this is something we haven't planned on. This is something, a lot of departments, I'm sure, have never holy moly, what if we had to do a canine? What's all the different ideas or possibilities that we're going to have to work with here? So we've got a lot of
something you don't think about every day, but as you can see, the bystanders are all in on this. No one wants anything to happen to this dog. As much as it can even be a safety concern to people, they're still jumping in and trying to rescue, which we want to alert everyone that is not helpful, and you should not do. It is for trained professionals to do only here. And maybe we can go into that a little bit, Nathan. What does that training look like?
It looks a lot like what you're seeing right here. We do a lot with fast-moving water, with different types of the way the canals are shaped, with eddies, with debris that's in the water, how to self-rescue. If we hit, strainers, we hit other items that are floating down the water, whether it's logs, vehicles. We do a lot of training with that. All our specialized equipment we have, our vests, our helmets, our lights. We have special terminology. We have the whole incident command system that we're set up just for this. There's dedicated positions. This is not like you're asking earlier, how many people do we use? This is a lot of positions to fill to do it correctly without putting someone else's life at immediate risk here. And even a best plan that you set and you do, there's still dangers to this. So it's real high winds here too, I can see. So with the helicopter, this is a difficult rescue.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because we looked at the forecast, and honestly, wind gusts were not super high, but the helicopters seem to be putting off, creating some higher currents for the river there. Is that a concern? Right. Is that something to be taking into account during rescues?
Yeah, it's a concern, and you can see how the water's flowing around, debris flowing around. I mean, and that's our visibility down there too. So you have water that's flashing and it's blowing in your face. It makes it a lot more difficult for you and I. If we were in the water to see that helicopter above us, that's a welcoming sight, right? We're like, oh, here they are. They're here to save us. I can relax. I can just stand right here. They're going to come down and get me. So we saw that, and with the dog, he doesn't understand it. Loud noises, it's more wind, it's just more chaos to the canine. And then we can see even when the guy went in, like you and I would be happy to see the welcoming, rescuer, the dog attacked him for, trying to save his life. But the canine does not understand it. So this is just going to be, time is going to kind of really tell in here. Hopefully the rain stays down and this water can really lighten up and the dog's going to relax and come up to someone eventually. But time for tell. We can see the footage you guys are showing right now. The exact same rescue with the helicopter, the rescuer in the water. The man was happy to see him, and it was a good save. But you can imagine, if the person started fighting, what the firefighters are having to deal with.
Right, and I want to just play out some of that video for everyone who may not have seen it before of that rescue of a man who did hop in to try to save the dog, and you can see rescuers having to go in and hoist him to safety. He's since been transported to the hospital and is also being treated for some dog bites too. And then this man right here who was running along tried to, put his leg over the fence, hop over the fence, and help out the dog. And I think he put maybe a tree branch down, hoping the dog would bite onto the tree branch and he could maybe bring him to safety. But this is a perfect example of why this is more of a deterrence than a help to rescuers there on the scene. So just wanted to play that video once again for everyone, as there's now been 2 human rescues as we take it back out live, as they're still trying to rescue this dog, who I also believe, Nathan, is not a small dog. Somewhat heavy, obviously a little bit lighter than a person, but squirmy too.
Yeah, no, he looks like a big boy, big bone there. So yeah, I mean, it looks like it's probably pretty close to a 100-pound dog, and that's dry. So now you got to put the weight on him. So yeah, he's a heavy dog. And remember the longer too. So without also you have the dangers, drowning, which is the number one concern right now. But injuries. So there's rocks coming down this river. There's people throwing debris in the water. So now this sticks are coming at this dog, 10 miles an hour plus, hitting the dog. So these people they want to do, they're doing the best they can, but it's wrong. So please, if you don't know what you're doing, don't throw items in the water. You're just going to injure the dog. You're going to injure our firefighters that are downstream waiting for the dog to come to them. So like you said, people throwing in branches, they're thinking if I can bite onto it. Well, if it misses the dog, it's going to hit one of our firefighters downstream. So people need to kind of, and I know this isn't the time to teach them all right now, but there's a lot to be thinking about here. So if you don't know what you're doing, please stop getting in the water. Please stop throwing debris in the water. And the longer then, this water's cold. So hypothermia is another concern we're worried about with the dog and with the people. So our firefighters in there, they're getting cold too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about what else could be in the river there, rocks and branches. You said 10 miles per hour it could hit the dog at.
Oh, yeah, and that's what it looks like it's going, but it can go a lot quicker than that.
Wow.
The shallower water can really get along here.
And so just doing some play-by-play, the dog is acknowledging people who are up on the side of the river that are calling down to him, which I feel like also isn't super helpful as we have rescue teams that are downstream a little bit further too.
Right, and the dog saw him there, but you can see he's running from people. He's running more into danger. And this isn't something we want to just go chasing the dog upstream. We have empathy, like I said, for the canine. We want to make sure he gets home safe and this dog continues, living a good life. But to risk our unnecessary risk, the firefighters are not going to do it this time. This isn't something for us to try and swim upriver and put us even in more of a danger. So the dog will eventually downhill, down water, downstream. It's going to go. So I think they'll probably just stay where they're at. Hopefully the dog comes up to them.
Let's play some hypotheticals here because we're going to stay on this shot, Nathan. We have a lot of people who are tuning in and wanting to see a happy ending to this, honestly, nerve-wracking situation out in Los Angeles to start off your week on this Monday. But say someone finds themselves in a situation, a circumstance like this, falls into the river or falls into a canal. You know, let's utilize this as a teaching opportunity. What is the best thing to do?
The best thing to do, and this is the number one thing that we rescue every single year, if people in their vehicles, they go around barricades. They go through areas that are already blocked off that we notice are dangerous, and we'll put barricades out. The police department will block it off. I'd say the majority, by far, of all our rescues are people that ignore that, or they're looking at it. They think they can make it through there in their vehicle, and they don't. But with that being said, the best way is to, just avoid being in there in the first place. But if you are in there and you do end up in the water, you're just going to want to do your best to get on your back, go feet first, downstream, and just try and swim if you can, like at a diagonal, and go diagonally towards the thing. You're not going to go upstream against this. You're not going to be able to go upstream. You're not going to be able to go straight to the side. But if you try and go diagonally the best you can towards the the shore, whichever way it's pushing you the best, do that. If you're unable to swim, like I said, lay on your back, feet first, going downstream so you don't hit your head on anything, and you're going to hit your feet and be able to go over the top of stuff. If you get stuck on it, then you're going to want to swim over items. Let's say it's a log that's in the street or some fencing. That you can swim up over the top of it. Don't ever try and go underneath because you're going to get stuck. We call them like a strainer. Very, very, very dangerous areas here.
Yeah, super dangerous. And the dog now running upstream away from rescuers, seemingly trying to run away from them, Nathan. This is just very frustrating to watch, and I'm sure frustrating for those rescuers as they are walking up on steady ground that has no water on it, where we saw the dog probably about 5 minutes ago. He's trying to figure out what to do and running in the opposite direction, not towards them.
Right.
I have to wonder what that communication, how difficult that is to tell him, come this way. Oh no,
right.
I'm jumping in.
And you can see he's not walking away, he's running away. He's in fear.
Yeah.
So that puts our mindset is like, this dog is going to do whatever it can to get away from us.
Yeah.
And he's going to run it. If he can't run, what do you do after you run? You fight. So he's going to want to fight it. He just doesn't get it. So I'm sure they have a plan. I'm not in communication. I don't hear any radio traffic, what their plan is on that. So he's running into the deep water again here. So there you go.
Okay, and here we have it. They have secured the dog and are on dry ground there on the side, have a leash on him. He is not getting away. And hopefully they'll be able to walk off with him without any problems. Man, this has been quite the ride here, literally down the Los Angeles River. That call coming in at 2:15. It's now 4 o'clock. So hours later, we are finally seeing a safe rescue of a dog in the Los Angeles River. 2 human rescues later, and now the dog taken off safely. This is what we were hoping to see, Nathan, hoping that it didn't take quite as long, but lots of resources being deployed and lots of people being able to see this. Last thoughts.
Yeah, I'm smiling. This is awesome. This is what we all hope for. Number one, I want to see we always want to see all our firefighters go home safe to their families at night. But to see that the dogs, they saved the dog's life here, it's a perfect scenario. There was so many chances for this to go worse. It's the 2 humans that we had to rescue out of there, people throwing debris in there, other people jumping in, people blocking the pathways. And like you said, everyone hopefully learned a lot from this today. Great ending, like you said, the perfect happy ending on this. And hopefully everyone watching this learned what not to do today.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. That's a good point. Sometimes you don't know what to do in circumstances like this until they happen. And here we have it. It's not just humans that are falling into the river or could fall into the river, and it's not just humans that firefighters have to rescue. They have to Oh, that's great. In the front, you can see them kind of consoling each other. It must be nice to be walking away with the dog on the leash with a successful mission.
The dog's not panicking now, so it's not underwater. It's not trying to push us down, thinking we're trying to drown him. So you can tell he's a good boy. He's on the leash now, and he's happy. Being a dog, best day. Still the best day.
Yeah, there we have it. Man's best friend, and they're off, and they're good to go. And we were able to bring this to all of our viewers here on Live Now from Fox. Since it first started, like I said, around 2:15, so let's see, hour, 45 minutes later, almost 2 hours later. Successful mission as they walk off here off the Los Angeles River. I'll be interested to see just how long that river ride was for the dog here, because it's quite a long river, and it went for a long time. And now he's being taken off safely.
For everyone to see what their firefighters are willing to risk for not only people but their pets. We get it, and you can see all the firefighters put their life on the line today to not only save people, but save their their best friend. Good end here.
Yeah, so amazing to see this. So now, obviously, both people who were rescued have been taken to the hospital. I would assume some treatments for the dog as well. As I thought it was over, Nathan, but you never know with this dog. He kind of took off a couple times, so we're just going to hold this shot as we want to see him successfully get back to some dry ground, not even close to the river, and be able to be assessed as well. So we're just going to hold it here. Again, you're watching Live Now from Fox, top of the hour, about almost 4:10 out in Los Angeles. We've been keeping up with a rescue at the river, Los Angeles Fire Department, Los Angeles Police, all there, bystanders doing what they can to help out. And just a reminder, we're taking away many lessons from this circumstance. If there is a rescue underway, don't jump in, don't hop in. Let the professionals take care of it. They know what to do. And you know what? That current is a lot stronger than you would think. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Yes, a lot quicker than the thing. And you're exactly right. There's going to be lessons not only for everyone watching this show today, but also for us. Like personally, this is the first time I've seen, firefighters put their life on the line so much as they did today to save this canine. So this is great lessons for us. And remember, this is just all, we were just reacting to everything that was going on here and doing the best we could. So it'd be Monday day quarterbacks, of course. There'd be people that have, a lot of different opinions with this. We understand it is an animal, but so you're going to have a lot of people saying, oh, they should have done more quicker, they should have done less, it wasn't worth it. Everything they did was calculated today. Every risk is calculated that we do every single day in the fire service. And that's an old saying we have. We'll risk a lot to save a lot, we'll risk little to save little. Well, firefighters, we determine this canine's a lot. It's a lot to somebody. To somebody, this is their whole world. So we were willing to risk a lot to save a lot today. This turned out great.
Yeah, that's right. And we appreciate you, Fire Captain Nathan Gunkel, joining us live. You're out in the Palm Springs area, but very, very familiar with California and work closely with the Los Angeles Fire Department. Any message, any last thoughts as we keep our eyes on a pretty happy dog here?